Alright, time for another draftphysics.com, debatephysics.com also, video presentation. So, I think it's time for the old email thing. So for the next, if you watch this video, somewhere between, the date is, the 6th and the 7th, let's say, or the 8th. Yeah, send an email, basically encouraging other talking head science type people on the internet to pay attention to this subject of momentum versus kinetic energy and consider it a real subject, that they never have proven this 25 times the fuel to go 5 times as fast thing, or the idea that something going 5 times as fast absolutely has 25 times the capacity to do work. So something going 50 miles an hour can do 25 times more work than something going 10 miles an hour. I mean, it's a really bold statement. It really should come with really hard and valid evidence, and they don't have it, frankly. And all the evidence points to something else being true, that momentum is the only thing in the universe, and it flows from place to place. And the fact is when it flows from place to place, when it moves through interaction from place to place, it can interact and go into places we can't collect easily, like heat. And it escapes us. We can't just circularly keep reusing it because it dissipates into something we're not very good at collecting. But the fact is if we got better at collecting it, if we could close our systems and put energy into them, we could have that energy just keep working and working and working, because the energy never dies, frankly. It just doesn't. But, frankly, it has its limitations. You can only go up and then go down and then go up and then go down. Oscillate. But that's something you can feed off of. But if you take the oscillation, and move it to do something else, well, obviously you don't have it in the oscillator anymore. So the oscillator can't make something else move some more. So, but energy just moves from place to place, and that's the truth of the universe. Motion is a substance, essentially, in the universe that just is a certain amount of it, and there's a certain amount of motion in the universe, and there's always the same amount of motion in the universe. And kinetic energy just makes a mess out of the theory by basically claiming when big things are moving, like the whole Earth, it has very little energy. But when little tiny protons are moving, they, with a commensurate speed, that somehow they have a preposterous amount of more energy, billions of times more energy. And it's frankly ridiculous. It's a silly, stupid error. It really, it's so broken and so obviously broken, and yet you can't get any of these scientists interested in clarifying and fixing that foggy, broken appearance. It looks like a lemon. It runs like a lemon. Doesn't run at all, frankly. The kinetic energy is never conserved. Anytime you move energy from one mass to a different mass, it's gone. All right. So anyway, I won't bother reading it again. I did change the text a little, but it's basically just saying we're a group of people interested in this subject. We'd really like to see good evidence. Somebody needs to produce this good evidence because it doesn't currently exist. There's lots of these good arguments about how spaceships function and how pendulums function, ballistic pendulums and wooden blocks, and they all kind of demonstrate that this theory doesn't work. And so where's your good evidence that it does? Kind of a thing. So anyway, so just it's all done for you here. So there's a bunch of email addresses here. You just select all those and pop that into the to section of your email, and then the subject is right here. A suggested experiment that needs doing. Okay, good enough subject. And then you copy the text and paste it, and that's all you got to do. So really not complicated, and I'd appreciate it, frankly. Even if you hate my guts, you should want this subject talked about because it is so muddy. It's, it really is important. It's the most important subject in physics. And you really do have an energy duality. You really have a problem talking about things having momentum and this other stuff called kinetic energy. It really does break all continuity. All right. Yeah, so that's enough of that. So I did get one stupid email, some mindless marbles turd. He emailed Paul Nord, with just a bunch of gibberish. And you're saying after 2 months of conversing with Paul Nord, I think he knows what my argument is. And it's an insane email. So I just thought I'd read it just for the sake of pointing out, what the fuck? Why he sent me a copy, I have no idea. It's just such nonsensical gibberish with providing zero credible evidence. And you're just like, how is this advancing the subject any? Just really, really, sorry, I find it impossible to understand how you people work, okay? Because, you're not even rational villains. All right, anyway, so let's go find that, and we'll do that. So just junk, basically. These will be all arguments you've already heard, but it doesn't hurt to emphasize them. Yes, link to the email page in the description. Maybe I'll post it from my other channel as a comment, so I'll post the link as a comment also. To this email page and such. Alright, so it begins. So he just sent it to me twice, 2 different email addresses, and Paul Nord, and it says, hi, so he doesn't even say hi Paul or something. Here are some things Draft Science believes to be true. So again, this is after hundreds of emails between me and Paul Nord. Force equals energy equals momentum equals weight equals energy. Yeah, you said that. Everything is equal. They're all the same thing. Anything that's considered a mechanism that causes motion or is part of motion is all the same thing. So you could say pressure. There's probably something else you could add to that list. Yes, all the same thing. Despite being a defending of momentum, I guess he's meant defender, he gets it completely wrong and insists that P equals MV, $ is conserved instead of vector P, vector blah blah. So we know the vector thing doesn't mean anything because of the lever, and it oscillates, And there's no, to make the argument that somehow, like say I suspend a lever and I get it to oscillate with very uneven amounts of kinetic energy on both sides. The argument would be what, you think twice the energy when it's going in the reverse direction? You think twice the energy went into the ceiling? So even when they have a regular teeter-totter, I mean, their excuse is that somehow when it goes this way, it put twice the energy into the earth reflected it back up, and is the thing causing the motion in the opposite direction. And so there was really, you went in with 100 momentum, you create 300 momentum to cause the reversal. That's their explanation. So they don't think it's just a circle, just a U-turn. They don't think the energy comes in, is essentially rejected, and causes the other thing to leave at the same velocity on the other side of the lever. I mean, it's, and he's writing this as if I'm the crazy person. Yeah, I don't believe direction means anything, but you can change direction without disturbing anything. It's just a fact. All right, anyway. Draft Science thinks the concept of rotational inertia. So I don't have any problem with the concept of this idea that there is inertia, that all objects based on their mass provide a resistance to motion, if you want to call it that. They're just basically saying you have to give me energy or I can't move. Heavy things need more energy to move than light things. He's calling, it's as if you're saying there's a rotational inertia beyond that fact, I'm saying it's ludicrous and silly. Light things don't have more inertia, okay? They don't resist moving twice the speed. A half mass does not resist more moving twice the speed than a full mass moving half that speed. Anyway, rotational inertia, moment of inertia, contradicts. So again, this idea that there's some moment of inertia when there really isn't. There's just contact and exchange. And you either exchange your condition or you don't. You either make good contact or you don't. All right, and then he says, contradicts Archimedes' law of the lever. No, I'm saying that, I'm not talking about this inertia crap. I'm saying your argument that somehow the lever can't make the MV conversion, that it doesn't convert momentums, big M, little v, into big V, little m, that assertion is garbage. The assertion that the half mass can't be moved twice as fast with the same energy, I'm saying that's nonsense. I mean, you know, and that violates the law of the lever. Because the law of the lever says that's the way it works. That's the way a balance works. Twice the distance, twice the velocity, no problem. That's your expectation, that if you put a half mass there, you're going to get twice the velocity. That's how it works with pulleys. You put the full mass on, you know, going down, up and down this much. The half mass goes up and down this much for the same action. All right. Okay, is conserved instead of the vector. Okay, inertia is fake. Yes, so I'm saying that, you know, I'm saying if you want to use the word inertia, that's your business. I don't think there's any such thing as inertia by definition. There's no resistance to motion. You have to give something energy. There's no resistance to heat, for example. If something's cold, it's not because it has some kind of inertia against being warm. It's that you haven't given it any heat, so it's cold, period. And so inertia is just the idea that, well, yeah, you have to put the water in the glass. If the glass hasn't had, nobody's put water in it, the glass is empty. Duh. But the glass isn't saying I'm resisting having water in me. It's not resisting. All right, there are many, many, many misunderstandings. So this is all just drivel. No proof. That Draft Science has collected over the years, and the full list would require a textbook to explain. So it really doesn't. I mean, they're listed on the website. I mean, the subjects that are relevant to physics. And yeah, all of them have been well argued, and the arguments are indestructible, frankly, especially things like the double slit analysis. Is so far superior to anything produced by conventional physics. They're not even close to a reasonable explanation. Let's see. Your mistake was to suggest he should learn more math physics. So again, you know, we've played hundreds of lectures. We've argued the evidence, and this is the best they can do is a counter argument. So you show ballistic pendulums losing all of the kinetic energy. They have no explanation beyond just saying it's magical, it's hidden inside of the ballistic pendulum, it's there, but they can't stick a thermometer in there and prove it's there. They can't do car crashes, they can't do anything. Okay, I don't know what his argument is about the wooden block experiment that clearly shows that the kinetic energy can't do work against an equal competitor. So give it a competitor with the same momentum, the thing with greater kinetic energy will not defeat it. It's just a fact. So what's his explanation? Oh, there isn't any. All right. The problem is that he has a genuine form of narcissism. So again, so irrelevant. Let's say I was a complete narcissist. Are the arguments in these videos really where I just talk about how beautiful I am and how smart I am and how brilliant I am? Is that what I'm doing? Or am I drawing physics arguments? I'm showing you a perpetual motion machine created by the idea that you can put 100 momentums in and you can get 150 going in the same direction, and you get half your energy back, so you can hit it again and get another 100, and then you can do it again and get 300. So you can take 100 momentums and convert them into 300 momentums, which even if levers are incredibly inefficient, you could still convert into more free energy. So again, it's just such a nonsense. They have a perpetual motion free energy theory, and you know, because they haven't done the experiments, we don't have the proof, and that's the simple fact. If they did the experiments, the proof would be obvious. You can't make the machine. You can't make free momentum. Free momentum is against the law of physics. It's a fundamental axiom of physics that the energy does essentially move through the universe, and you can't make free of it. You can't destroy it, and you can't make free. You can't take heat somewhere and just make it go away, and you can't make free heat. Okay, your mistake was to whatever narcissist that prevents him from being able to comprehend what others say. Full stop. I mean, whatever that is. So I'm sitting there begging you to make a reasoned argument, okay? And all you can do is shenanigans, okay? All you can do is film experiments from the side. You know, one of the links he's going to, provide here at the bottom is an experiment where basically it's pendulums. And what they've done is they've filmed it at an angle. So obviously the amount of distance one of them looks like it traveled is much smaller, and the distance of the closer thing to the camera is going to look much bigger. I mean, you know, we've talked about parallax so many times, and, you know, they're still making that mistake. Well, at least they're still linking to videos that have that obvious mistake in them. And it's like, what, I have to keep, you know, again, I've debunked dozens of these crappy experiments, and it's just a lie to sit there and say they have integrity. They're all engineered to produce a result. They're not engineered to do science. Okay, Jesus. Anyway. Let's see. This is why he tends to respond almost always with straw man. So where was the straw man? And I mean, I asked simple questions in the Paul Nord video. He never responded to any of the hundreds, the dozens of questions until I listed 7 or 6 specific questions, and I got him to answer them. Now, which one of his answers wasn't a complete evasion? I mean, not one of them. You still can't get him to say that, yes, if I put a 2 mass going 1V on one side of the lever at one distance, I won't get a 1 object, a 1 mass going 2V. I'll get a 1 mass going 1.4. He won't even commit to that, directly stating that that's what the experiment will produce. And says ambiguous things that sometimes you can conserve the momentum. What do you mean sometimes? I mean, it's just such, these people are just such lying scum. Amazing. Anyways, because of his insistence that momentum always adds and never subtracts, my insistence is that the momentum this way is real and momentum this way is real, and there's no such thing as anti-momentum. And again, the Bruce Yearney experiment proves it. Okay, when they put a block against a brick wall, so to speak, and shoot it, it goes a velocity. You know, it moves, let's say, 10 feet. Then when they take 2 blocks that are the same mass with the spring in between them, even though the mass of the block is the same, it only goes at least, half that speed. Clearly, it's sharing its momentum with the other block. The going this way took just as much energy as it took to go this way. There wasn't zero momentum. Okay, the spring had energy, it gave it, and it gave a half portion to each side. And then when it's against an immovable object, it gave the full portion. That's the obvious truth. All right, anyway. Insistence that momentum always adds and never subtracts. There's no such thing as unmomentum. Yes, it's a ludicrously silly prospect that there's some sort of motion that doesn't count as real motion in the universe. It's just idiotic to say the nuclear bomb explodes, there's energy going in opposite directions, it all cancels. It's a idiotic statement. Okay. Based on directions. He denies the usual results of elastic collision. So that's just a lie. I deny the fact that your little rolly carts are scientifically credible, okay, because it's a bunch of angular momentum in the crappy little wheels. And I deny that air tracks are impervious to mistakes and errors because they are subject to a huge number of them, having actually built one. And Brozo had the same experience. So he's denying Brozo's own experience in the fact that he had to make 5 of these fucking things and he still couldn't get results that were good enough. And here you are pretending that I have to say that all of these stupid experiments done from all kinds of stupid camera angles, done in all kinds of unclinical ways, somehow are proof of something when you don't have a single car crash, you don't have a single piece of hard, good evidence. You don't have anything close to any experiment ever showing 25 units of energy in to go 5 times faster. Nothing, anywhere. Okay, one of the clearest examples of his denial is in the case of the 1x mass moving at 1 v into the stationary 3x mass. So again, an insane argument about the creation of free momentum. I mean, really, 100 in, you get 150 out, plus you get half your energy back. The pendulum goes back halfway. So now you can do it again and again and again. And so you can multiply the amount of momentum by 3 or 4 or 5 times, all right, with this stupid device he claims works. And his evidence, again, is absolute suck. He doesn't have a real physicist doing any such experiment and proving it. No real clinical, clean experiment. Just these stupid, petty trolls, contriving the results by using shitty camera angles and using nonsensical measuring devices. Okay, the results, as has been shown to him, is that both masses move at 1/2 the velocity in opposite directions. So again, that's not what's shown. That's not what's proven. And I mean, what's your penance? Exactly. I mean, how deep a hole do you concede you should dig and bury yourself in when you're proven to be an absolute liar about the credibility of these experiments? Okay. This result validates conservation of absolute momentum. So obviously it doesn't validate anything but the creation of free motion, and that's it. 100 in, 200 out. If that makes sense to somebody, then I'm saying they're not sensible. Or momentum as defined by Descartes. So again, Descartes was correct. Okay, not momentum as defined by Newton. So again, another lie where they try to imply that Newton believed in mv squared. He said nothing of the kind, nothing even close to it. All of his surrogates argued against it. And you have his own statement. Twice the force, twice the velocity, 3 times the force, 3 times the velocity. Clear statement, no indication that any such thing as a kinetic energy is involved. A quick calculation shows P before M times V and P after blah, 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 blah. So he says a quick calculation. Is that a piece of evidence? No, it's not even close to a piece of evidence. Just absolute mush, meaningless mush. Okay. This alone disproves, so this doesn't disprove anything. This stupid piece of mathematical mush where you just decided that you're going to say that that the velocity is real, that something has more velocity than it actually experimentally does. And it's a stupid claim. Again, it's like claiming the lever can't make the half mass move twice the velocity, that the lever can't conserve the momentum, when of course that's the very thing it does. Okay, that's its whole function. This alone disproves one of the deeply held convictions about physics, so there's no disproving anywhere. This type of collision has been performed many times, so it's performed by the same asshole. So yeah, he's done it many times because every time he did it was shit. Okay, he can't even figure out things like, okay, if he's using a bigger mass, he has to calculate the fact that now the pendulum is swinging a higher arc. So it's actually raising higher per unit of distance. When you use a shorter string, it means it's raising higher per any unit of distance. He doesn't figure anything. He doesn't account for any of the real variables in these experiments. And he does it over and over. He makes these mistakes over and over again. Okay, this alone disproves one of the deeply held convictions about physics. This type of collision has been performed many times for him from various angles. So again, yes, the only angle that matters is the right angle. Okay, straightforward view if you're going to use frame rates. And he still hasn't accomplished that. Okay, with every conceivable complaint by him addressed. So it's just a lie that anything was addressed. And certainly in the videos, like I said, these videos, some of them are 3 years old. Obviously, those are the really shitty videos. And so that's his evidence. So he can't produce a single Professor Lewin video. He can't produce anything credible. Instead goes to this amateur crap where he's got shit glued on a matchbook cars. And he's banging stuff into, soda crackers. He thinks that's good physics. So what an asshole. Fuck. So anyway, I'm just like I said, I just can't believe I have to make all these arguments to argue the premise that free momentum is not a valid concept. You just can't do that. You can't put 100 in and get 150 out. You can't do that for free. Alright, so enough of a video and such and so forth and whatnot. So, appreciate if you just send the email, no big deal. I don't like being kind of spammy, but we only do this once a month. It's not all that big a burden. And it's just for reference, really. I mean, the fact is, you know, what effort, you know, we're making the effort to just say, please, can't you debunk this? Can't you provide a counter argument? Can't you provide counter evidence? I mean, if you're going to make the bold statement that it, in fact, okay, requires 25 times the fuel to spin something 5 times as fast, and that something spinning 5 times as fast can do 25 times the work, don't you think you should be able to provide some kind of physical evidence demonstrating that to be true? I mean, shit, that's not asking too much. I mean, from scientists, it's like, it's you know, they should have well covered that. Okay, it shouldn't even be a mistake that's possible, that they overlooked providing evidence for something so bold. But obviously the science is that corrupt, because again, they still haven't repeated the Eddington experiment from space. It takes 5 minutes, you don't need an eclipse, and you don't even need much technology. It's $1,000 experiment from space, and they haven't done it. Ridiculous.